Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kaye, and welcome back. Actually, this is almost like a year anniversary, and to celebrate, I have a guest who I had to bring back because we've had some amazing conversations, and we did 2 episodes together about energy work and about feminine energy, and it was just so phenomenal that when I thought of the topic that we're going to talk about today, she was the first person who came to mind. So welcome back, Sivan Danon.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So I was the topic that I've been actually wanting to talk about for a while is putting things out into the universe. I mean, I don't know. I guess that is all connected with energy and like a lot of the things that you and I have spoken about with like I recently saw on your social media that you have been working on accomplishing like personal goals. And like I saw in your running, you've been trying to chip away at like a running goal, I guess, whatever it was. And I loved it that you were on social media talking about it. A lot of people set goals and they kind of keep them to themselves and they get private about it because they're kind of, I feel like they do that because they're scared like if they fail, then they didn't ever say anything. So they don't owe it to anyone. And what you did is similar to what I do is like, if I want to do something, whether it's on social media, whether it's to people I love in my life, I do put it out there. I put it out there. I say I'm going to do it. And it kind of is like a little accountability and like like a contract with myself, with the universe, with people who are now kind of have their eyes on me because they love me. They're not judging me, but then if I do need their support, they're there for me. And so I've done that a lot. So why did you put that all out on there? Was that one of the reasons?
One was being held accountable, because you're right. If I kept it to myself, nobody would know if I didn't show up for a run or if I actually did the race or didn't do the race. I was proposed a challenge. You know, my best friend was like, hey, why don't we meet somewhere around the world for a half marathon? I didn't even know what a half marathon was. I'm like, okay. You know, I know nothing about running. Honestly, you know, it doesn't matter how athletic you are, how fit you are. If you're not a runner, you're not a runner. It's a completely different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
It humbles you really quickly.
Yeah, mentally and physically.
We talked about this. Like, it sucks, right? If you're not a runner and building yourself up to that point. But so I had that seed planted in my head. And then I signed up for a mentorship program, more mindset, business related. One of the aspects that we had to set for ourselves was not only a business goal, but a physical goal. And he had brought it up as an example. Maybe you've never ran before and you want to sign up for a half marathon as your physical goal. That was like the second seed. And prior to that episode with him, 2 days prior, I went to a running club for the first time.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to what works for you. I wanted to be held accountable. If I was by myself, I would have found every reason to stop, go back to my car, and to go home. So here I am with
and nobody would know.
Nobody would know.
You're right.
Yeah. And so I start running with this run club. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's probably 100 people.
Oh, wow.
And they're just flying by me.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling. So I think I get through 2.5 miles. Great. Really was walking, running. It wasn't even a full run. I couldn't even get through 2.5 miles. I ran again later that week. And then I think on number 3, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. And now, without any judgment from your audience, I thought in my mind that a half marathon was 6 miles.
Okay,
and so I signed up, I paid for it, registered. And then only when I started getting text messages, hey, how many 5Ks have you done? How many 10Ks have you done? Like 0, none. What did I just sign up for? But
you're like jumping in the deep end of the ocean.
It's typical of me, like I jump first and then I ask questions later, but I always figure it out. So I committed. And once I make that commitment, it's done.
Okay.
It's done. So I've been training.
I love that.
And I've been struggling, and it's been an internal dialogue, an internal conversation of doubt, of you can't do this. Why are you doing this? Like, this is, you could do better things with your life right now than to run. But it's that battling, So 4 weeks later, when I posted that reel that you saw, I went from not being able to run 2.5 miles without feeling like I was going to fall over to running 6 miles without stopping. And you know why I did that? Is I wanted people to know that consistency and faith is going to get them through. Having the faith that the universe is going to have your back and support you along whatever co-creation you're doing. And it's okay to fail, but it's fail forward. you're going to have some 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, however analogy you want to put it into place, right? So when I go on social media, I'm showing them the ugly too. It's not birds and butterflies and look at me, I'm like running with grace. The other day I posted just me like as a joke, how you put your jokes, not everybody gets them, but like as a joke, I'm like, look, finally, I'm like ahead of the race. I'm like, I'm ahead of everybody else. I cheated. I started 20 minutes before the group even started. But you know what? That was for my own mindset. Like if that's what I need to do to get myself mentally prepared and to have that mindset that I can do it, then that's what I'm going to do. It's not the actual race, but I post the good and the ugly. And I want people to be inspired, but also to know the real journey of it.
Right.
It's not going to be like, oh, I'm just a fabulous runner. No, it really does hurt. It's a painful process.
It does. Running is painful. Greg has been on the podcast before, and he's spoken about running because he is an avid runner, and people just assume that runners love running. And there are some people who really do enjoy it, but Greg is like, I do it because it's more of like a therapeutic thing. Like he said something about like he like talks to his demons when he runs. Like it's just like all this stuff comes into your head and you're like pushing it out and sorting it out, and he makes goals. And I mean, he runs without music. It's like just him and the road and a pair of sneakers. And
I don't know. Maybe one day we'll get to that point. Right now, it's not therapy for me.
No, not at all. But he likes the physical challenge of it. And then, battling through this heat and everything, like he battles through this. It builds confidence. It builds confidence because, like you said, like you had your doubts where you're like, I can barely do 2.5 miles without starting and stopping. And then it's like that, it comes into your head, that doubt, like, can I really do this? Like, am I going to? And then when you accomplish the 3 miles and then you're do nonstop 4 mile, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And that confidence starts to build. Correct? I mean,
well, that's exactly what happened when I had that 6 mile run. I was planning on pushing myself to, let me see if I could do 5 miles today. Right. That was really the goal. And then my body felt good and my mind was in alignment with my body, where before it's been a constant battle of who's going to win. Is it going to be, the mind or the physical body? Like what's going to, outweigh everything. And they were in alignment, where my mind said, okay, you could go a little bit longer. And my body felt stronger because I had been training and I have not, I didn't give up. I just kept pushing through. I ran through the rain. I ran through when my knee was killing me, when my back was hurting me. Like I just kept training at whatever pace I needed to be at.
Right.
And then that one day when I just went a little bit longer than I thought I could, and I just went a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And the next thing I knew, I ran 6 miles. And the sense of accomplishment was, I don't even need a medal around my neck. No. Like just that. And I did it for myself. There was nobody around me to even see me do it. You know, like literally I was ahead. And by the way, I was the first one to come in. Right. because I cheated. But it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
No, the medal and the prize is like an internal thing that you don't need anyone there. It's like that's how I felt when I. Yeah. And so for somebody, so you're not a runner, and or at least like where you haven't been like a avid runner and then you jump into a half marathon. And so saying it out loud to people, I think a lot of times when people make such huge goals, because going from not a runner to where you're like, I don't even know if I can, make it 2.5 miles, to saying I'm going to do a half marathon, saying that out loud to people who like kind of understand running or whatever, it kind of might sound crazy, right? It's like some people are like, are you kidding me? Like, and so a lot of times people do keep it to themselves, or they don't want to say it out loud or put it out there because it sounds crazy. Just like when people who are not, who don't have like low body fat, or they're not weightlifters, and then they say, I want to compete in bodybuilding. And you look at them and you're like, okay, really? But they say it, and now it's kind of like, okay, well, I personally, I understand why some people like to keep the things to themselves, because some things sound so grandiose, and so like where people look at you like, okay, like you're out of your mind. I remember when I had the idea for coming up with my own company, and I remember I went over to a girlfriend's house to do a play date, and Bodhi was just little. I had newborn twins, and like I was coming up with the whole concept of my brand. And I remember sitting on my friend's back porch, and here I was just kind of like a mom with like young little kids. I'm just trying to like juggle life, and I start saying out loud to a friend of mine, like, I want to like start my own brand, and I have this like idea, and I'm like saying it out loud, and I'm like, oh my God, she probably thinks I'm ridiculous, and I'm like, it does sound kind of crazy, and like I'm telling her how like I have these ideas for like these flavors and like protein powders, and I'm like talking out loud. I don't even know if she was listening to me, but like she really didn't. I don't even think this girl even remembers or even knows, because she didn't really even entertain me. It sounded so wild and out there that I'm talking about starting my own supplement line. Like I'm going to compete with the big boys with like protein powder and all this stuff. And it's like, Dana, you have enough on your plate. And I kind of sounded a little crazy, and I knew that I did. But I just started talking about it, like putting it out there. And like I was in the grocery store talking to my mom about it. And my mom like finally turned to me and she's like, you keep talking about it. Like, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to. And like, why don't you just do it? And it was because I was talking about it and putting it out there. And like, the more that I spoke about it into existence, the more encouragement I got, the more it sounded real, the more it sounded like, the more I got from people like, hey, go for it. Like, sure, if you keep talking about it, you must be passionate about it. And whether the people were doubting me or not, I'm sure there are plenty of people who are laughing at me thinking this girl's crazy. Like, this lady's crazy. She's got young kids. She's whatever. There's a lot, you don't even know the first thing to starting your own brand. But and it sounds huge to start your own brand, to start your own company with so much, like, it sounds huge.
But you put it into motion.
Yeah.
Those words hold such strong vibration.
Yes.
That you had already put it into motion. And the fact that you even believed it, and Dr. Joe Dispenza, we've talked about this a little bit before, the power of belief, right? And when we attach our emotions to the words that we're speaking or thinking, it makes it as if it already happened. Your consciousness doesn't know that it didn't happen yet. You put it into existence, which is like why we're meeting, right? About the universe. Is the universe going to have our back? Is it going to support us? But you're co-creating with the universe. You're co-creating with God, right?
Yes.
Like that's exactly what you did. You took that step, but there was something that was planted within you that said, this is an idea. And I want to, and as you continued, there was a belief that kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, that it became a reality for you.
And it made me start, like, I could envision it. Then I started having like these visions and then these thoughts and like what I saw from this brand. And then it was just where I kept going with it, and something was pushing me, and I really believed in it. And the more that I would speak about it, and the more that I would speak to like almost anybody who would listen, I just kept like putting it out there. The more that it started to just take form, like I couldn't even turn back. And so I've done that with competing in figure and like bodybuilding, where I'm 80 pounds overweight, gave birth to twins. I look a hot mess, and I'm telling people, okay, in 1 year, I'm going to compete on stage and I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And like, meanwhile, I'm like, I just come off from having twins. I look a mess, but I was like, I like remember standing in my mom's kitchen and I was like, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And like, I said it out loud. I put it out there. I told whoever the freak would listen to me. And then I just started putting the wheels in motion. Like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And every day it was like, that was the mission I was on. And my mom has always said about me, she's like, well, if Dana says something, she's going to do it. If she says it out loud.
We're so much alike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why I was like, okay, you and I have to have this conversation.
Yeah. And there's something also really important too, when you set yourself up for a goal or a challenge. Like in your case, you wanted to enter the fitness competition world, right? And for me, I'm like, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon, which I now know is 13 something miles. More than double. But
good to know.
It's so different than our day-to-day workouts, right? Like I always laugh about this. Like I could do Pilates, I could do yoga, I could do the HIIT programs because it's fun. I don't find it, like over challenging, but it's challenging enough to make me feel good. But it's not like a mental challenge. It's not really pushing me because there's only so much you can do.
Right.
So when I set this goal up, and as I'm running, and this kind of happened to me the last couple weeks going into this, when I kind of got past the I hate this stage of why am I doing this? Like, what did I just sign up for?
Yes.
This hurts, that hurts. To each time I hit a milestone, the first time I got 3 miles, it was the hardest 3 miles, but I didn't stop.
Right.
I wanted to stop so bad, so many times, but I had a partner who was like, come on, let's go. And I didn't want to, having that accountability was really, really important too. Because I'm like, okay, I'll keep going, even though I felt like I wanted to throw up. But I kept going. And the first time I hit 3 miles, I was like, this sucks. like my body hurts. And then I did the next 3 miles and I didn't stop and it felt a little bit easier. And then all of a sudden I'm in Marco Island and I'm like, okay, let me just go run on the beach. And the sand in Marco is a little bit easier to run on the one on the East Coast because it's like more firm.
A little harder, yeah.
Yeah. So then I did 4 miles. I was like, holy.
Now going through all this, as you're doing something that isn't easy, that's when you're growing. Yeah. That's when you are evolving. That's when you, not just staying in your little comfy bubble, doing your Pilates that you do or whatever, like whatever comes easy to you. Like if it's a yoga class, if those are things, like those, I mean, yes, you can challenge yourself in those classes. Those are hard, but meaning like that's something that you've done, you've kind of found your groove in and that's like for me, like with weight training classes, it's like, those are comfortable for me. I love weight training, but it's not where I'm doing a class and I'm like, I freaking hate this. This hurts. When you step out and you do something that scares you.
So different. Outside of your comfort zone.
Something that scares you, then challenges you and makes you feel a little sick and makes you feel a little like, and then you actually do it. Or even if you fail doing it, even if you didn't get to that 3 months, but yet you were like, I went after it.
Yeah.
I still went after it and did it. I didn't quit. I didn't just say, I don't really feel like it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, failing forward, that's huge.
Fail forward.
I have fail forward. And guess what? I'm forward. Like every time I fail, I learn, I get up, I brush myself off and I keep going.
And it's something about setting yourself up for a specific goal, like or it could be like any type of goal, and then having to work towards that.
Yes.
Instead of the day in and day out of the normal routine that you're used to, you actually have something to work towards. So now even the training, and even when you were probably getting into shape after you had your twins, you had something to work towards.
Yeah.
You had a date and like a deadline, and that's what you were going to do, and you put your mind to it. And then you just kept going.
Yep. And I think like, I know there are some people who are like, oh, we don't believe in goals. It should be, but it's like, I believe in goals. And while you're setting that goal, you're creating new healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle. So while maybe you don't have to push that hard forever, you're setting a new like norm, a new standard for yourself. Like, what it takes to hit that goal, you're realizing like, this is what it's going to take to accomplish anything that I want to accomplish, like that amount of effort. Because just like competing in a figure competition and getting to that goal, I realized like I had to get through some really, really tough days. And it's the same thing with starting a business. I had to get through some really tough days.
It prepares you for it.
Yes.
Yeah,
it prepares. It lets you know that like any goal you set, any journey you're on, anything you want out of life, like there are going to be some hard days, especially if it's really worth having.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
After you competed and you hit your goal and you did exactly what you set out to do, did you notice anything different happen in your life? Different opportunities start to present themselves? Did you notice different relationships or connections being made? Did you notice anything shifting energetically?
Oh, yeah. When you're focusing on doing something for yourself first, I mean, obviously we're doing these things for us, whether it's for us to grow, it's a personal challenge, whatever. A lot of other things have to fall to the side, look, you have to make room for it, right? You can't just keep up with your regular life. Now you're fitting in a training schedule and your habits change and your food changes and maybe your friend circle changes and the support system changes because not everyone is going to be supportive and not everybody wants to be there to root you on. Like sometimes friends who are in a circle, maybe when your social life. You're not going to go out and grab drinks with your girlfriends anymore if you've got a training schedule or you're waking up early to go on a run with your run club. Are you going out for martinis that like on Friday night now? If you've Saturday morning you have a run, all of a sudden your whole lifestyle shifts. And yeah, certain things now are not a priority anymore. Certain things you have to learn to say no to. It's what happened with me. I realized, okay, well, I have babies to take care of. I've got a home to take care of, but I also need to get weight training done and meal prep done and cardio done and all the things done. Well, I can't say yes now to all the other things. So yeah, there's a big shift in life, who's in your life. You also realize who's supporting you, who's not supporting you. And those things kind of like sort themselves out too in an interesting way.
I think it's all divine timing. There's a reason why, devotion came to mind. There's a the creating of your line and your brand, and there's a reason why you wanted to compete. There's like this little seed. It's almost like our angels and our guides are planting these thoughts in our hands because they know, you know, like, and so when you're in flow of that, things start to happen, right? So it's almost as if, and this happens in my life too, right? Where I'm put in a situation or I'm following the path that's laid out in front of me, and I'm going with the flow, and I'm not going with the resistance. I'm not, and all of a sudden I see what's dropping off.
Yes.
And what's coming in. But in order to allow new energy to flow in, I had to go through that in order to drop off that extra weight, whether it's emotional weight, whether it's connections that were holding me back, relationships, being able to see things from a bird's eye view versus being in it, because sometimes we can't see when we're in it, right? Like, my mentor says you can't see the label of a bottle from the inside, right? So you have to be able to see it from the outside. It makes so much sense. So when friends stop talking to you, or relationships start to fall away, those relationships weren't meant for you. Maybe they were there for a lesson. Maybe they were there to teach you something, but they weren't there to carry you through to the next level of your life.
Okay, this is a perfect opener for what I've been dying to share for so long. So my brand is now going to be in October 9 years old. 5 years ago, so when I started the brand, I was married. I had 3 little kids, and I did have a business partner who owned just about a third of the company. And I teamed up with her, and away we went with starting this brand. And somehow her husband got very involved, and it was my vision for the brand. I approached her to be part of the brand. And, away we went trying to launch this brand, but like I had a vision for it and kind of like invited them into my vision. And along the way, obviously with business partners, things don't always align, visions don't align, but you're still like, everyone's in this business and you're trying to make it work and grow. And we did have a lot of tension. Well, meanwhile, I'm also having marital issues because that relationship also wasn't aligning. It wasn't like whether it was right from the beginning. Like my business partner thing probably wasn't right from the beginning. My marriage wasn't right from the beginning. But sometimes, you get into these legal contracts, which is what a marriage is what a business partner is, and you're in it, and it's like you try to make the best of it. And my life really did get out of alignment. And so 5 years ago, it was 2019, I was going through my divorce, which I had finally decided to pull, the trigger on, which was, painful and hard. I have 3 kids, but it was like, I just knew it was right. And then I also decided to buy out my partners. And because I said, this is not working. She lost her passion for it. Her husband was just too controlling and like didn't have my vision for the company. And it was just really driving me away from my brand. And it was really ugly. And so I'll never forget, it was New Year's Eve, I think. Now, I had not met Greg yet. My divorce, I don't think, was final. The battle with my brand was not final. But I sat down with a pad of paper and I was like, Dana, your life has completely spiraled. And I was in just an ugly place. It was like my darkest time. And I felt like I lost control of everything. And I was very depressed. And I wasn't even being the mother that I wanted to be anymore because of all of these like other things going on. And it just wasn't what I wanted. And I remember I sat outside on New Year's Day and I wrote where I was, and then I wrote what I wanted for myself and out of my life. And I wrote it on these pieces of paper, and I did career, and then I did love, and then I did what I want my outcome to be. And I wrote, now this is kind of deep, but I'll tell you what I wrote. I wrote, in career, I let others steamroll over me and take control of my dream and my company. I didn't stay completely involved and completely educate myself on the inner workings of what was going on, and it all got away from me. I need to have complete understanding of my business. During the process of growing the business and not being happy in life, I became addicted to my phone. I didn't give people, especially my children, my full attention. I have not been present. I draw into my phone reach out to friends and social media to feel good. This has not been good. The company needs professional people in the right positions to help it grow correctly. I want to continue sharing and inspiring, but my business partners made me feel badly about being a voice and a face behind the brand. The market approach has not been working because I have not had a chance to see my vision, to see my full vision through. So, like I said, I'm not here to bash my old partners, but I had a vision for the brand and it got away from me because when you have partners, sometimes they're like, they used to say like, let the product sell themselves. Dana, you don't need to be this. And, it got ugly. And I was like, this is not, I want this product. I want to tell my story. I want to help people. I have this, like, there's a whole reason why I launched a brand and it was just kind of, I lost control. And it really upset me. And then in love with my marriage, I said, I do not have a partner who I am truly in love with. I have not had chemistry or connected with him that I needed and that needed to be there in order for us to stay bonded. We have had no romance and I became sad and lonely. I need a partner who has the same hobbies and interests and who truly loves me and cherishes me. I want the children to see their parents happy. We came together quickly and didn't have the foundation to really last. So I wrote that about love. And then I wrote the outcome. And this is what I wanted. And I put it in the universe of like, what do I want out of my life? Like, what do I need? And I said, I truly want my business to be a huge success and to continue to grow and change lives. I want to be able to pay my employees like Kelly great salaries and reward them for their efforts and teamwork. I want to be passionate about my work and the brand and leave a legacy to my children. I want my parents to be proud of the career path I chose. I want to be able to balance my work and my time with my children and loved ones. And for love, I want passion. I want chemistry. I want the desire and a true best friend and connection. I want physical affection and mutual respect. I want someone driven and motivated who shows me his world and is proud of me. I would like to find someone who shares a passion for fitness and fun and adventure. I need someone who embraces my children like he would his own and loves them. And I wrote all that. Every time I read it and I folded it up and I put it away. And this was 5 years ago. And I knew what I wanted and I put it out into the universe and I wrote it down. And after like all of this has come true, I took control of my company. I bought out my partners. Kelly's my right-hand woman. I get to now pay her the salary I wanted. I have a professional team working with me. I'm seeing my vision through. I'm helping hundreds of thousands of people now. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not addicted to my phone. I'm not depressed. I found the love of my life. Greg loves my children. He gave up having children to be with me. He and I have a passion for fitness. Everything I wrote in these papers. And it's like I'm blown away because I didn't even know Greg existed. I didn't know if devotion was even going to survive at the time, but I wanted it so bad and I had a vision for it. And I was true. I wasn't sugarcoating it. I looked at my life and I was like, this is what's going on and this is what needs to change. And this is what I want to do. And holy crap. Greg is everything that I wanted and more. My relationship with my kids is amazing. And the brand is thriving and I put it out there. I said what I wanted and I went after it and I didn't have doubts that I couldn't have it. Like I was like, I want this and I'm going to get it and I'm going to do what it takes to get it. And it does mean like being real, being honest with yourself, and like sometimes like admitting like, no, I'm not perfect. I think a lot of people don't want to admit like that, what they're doing isn't benefiting them. And so sometimes you just have to be real with yourself. But that was just an exercise that I did 5 years ago. And these papers, every time I read it, it gets me so emotional because I remember where I was and where I wanted to be so badly. And like, I'm like, holy crap, like it's possible. So.
Well, you put it out there.
I put it out there.
It's like, why do people talk about vision boards? It's the same thing.
Yep.
It's having a visual of what you're going after, and when I had a vision board 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I forgot about what I put on this vision board because at that time I was taking a course And I feel like I'm always taking some sort of a course.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it because I never want to stop. You know, but on the vision board, it had, where do I want to be physically, fitness, you know, like my fitness level, investments, relationships, nutrition, like all of these things. And I had it up for a while and it's always been on display. But you know when something's there for so long, you see it, but you're not actually looking deep into it. It's kind of like in the background.
Yes.
So it was sitting on top of the piano, you know, like the keyboard, and and right in front of the bathroom too. So every time you walk out the bathroom, there it is. And even though it was there, I wasn't really looking at what I had put down. And about a year ago, something came up and I'm like, I stopped. Something made me stop and look at my vision board. And I would say 75% of what I put out there came to fruition. Yeah. 75% of it. And then on the back of it, I had a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. And you know, it's so interesting and talking about like body weight and just shifting a bit on my I think on my 10-year plan, I put down that I want to be at 20. I think I put down, I want to maintain a 23% body fat. And I, you know, this past year, you know, as I'm going through my own health and fitness journey, I'm at 17% body fat. So I'm like 8 years ahead of this timeline. Yeah. You know, time doesn't exist. I think we time is not real. You know, it's like a man-made thing. Yes. But it's just amazing that when you put it out there, whether it's, you know, a goal or whatever, or what the things you want to attract. So how I phrase things is I am, as it already became. I
love that. Yeah.
It already is in existence. I am, you know, I am attracting, you know, opportunities and prosperity with ease and flow daily. And I say it over with my meditations, you know, when I do my prayers, whatever I'm doing, I'm constantly saying it over and over again, that my belief system in that is 150%. Like I believe it. Yeah. To the core.
And for a lot of people, so I remember, to me, it used to sound so hokey because I used to do the things where I'd take the courses and where you like, you know, they'd say like, where do you want to be, and put all your goals and write the things down. And I was just like, oh God, this is so stupid. Like, you know, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I'm not doing this. And like, I can't remember where, like I used to do all these like self-help, like, I don't know, whatever it was. And you fill out these forms and it sounds so ridiculous. But then when sometimes it's like, and if it sounds ridiculous to you, then you don't even have to do all of that. You can just write like I did on paper. Just get it out of your head. Just write it down. Say what you want to do. And it might sound, and even if it's embarrassing to say out loud, say it on the piece of paper first. Because I think that that's what holds people back, is that they think that what they're saying is so outrageous. And
a higher power, universe, God, source, whatever people want to put out there, and name it or label it, it will match your vibration. Yeah. It will match it. So if we talk like in magical terms, right? And I say this to my kids too, think of your words and your thoughts as a spell. There's good spells and bad spells. So the moment you think it or the moment you speak it, they're going to match it and they're going to make it happen. So think, your thoughts, what's actually happening in your mind, and when your mouth is not opening, but what are you thinking anyways? What are those thoughts that are processing? You know, because that's what you're going to create. Yep. You know, okay, let's talk about Newark.
Oh, right.
Let's talk about the terminal situation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. You want to talk about how, like, I think it was like 2 weeks prior to that moment.
Yeah. I had found these papers in my drawer. I was going through some stuff, and I knew that I wanted to talk about this topic. And then also, like, you and I had hit it off. I did some energy work with you, and I was really, you know, we really were connecting for a long time. And then life got busy. We hadn't spoken for a little while.
Mutual psychic, by the way. We had a mutual psychic.
Right. Yeah. And we both, yes. And so I remember I was like, oh, I have to call Sivan, and like, oh my gosh, I would love to do this topic with her. And then I reached out to you saying like, hey, I know this is random, but like, there's a topic I want to talk about. I'd love for you to be, you know, do the podcast with me. And then we threw around some dates and it never stuck. And I knew like I wanted to connect with you. And then life got busy and I flew up to Massachusetts to visit my kids for visiting day for camp. And then I went to New Jersey to go to Allen Flavors where my parents' company is. And I was just super busy in the summer. And I'm standing there at the terminal to get onto a flight from Newark to Fort Lauderdale. And like, I never see anybody when I'm traveling. Like I never run into anybody. So I'm just like standing there and I like glance over and I do like a double take because I'm like, wait, what? And like, I totally see you. And I'm like, the one person that I've been like trying to connect with and like, you know, we had played phone tag and text tag and all the stuff. And like, there you are. And you're like, Dana? And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? And it wasn't even like a place in Florida. It wasn't even like we live by each other in Florida. We're not even that far.
We're just a
couple and I don't bump
away.
into you. But then I'm up in New Jersey and I bump into you. Like, what are the chances?
Well, think about it. What was the topic that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah.
Right. If you never believed in signs before, that was like
oh my gosh,
right in your face.
That was right in my face.
Right.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Right.
And here we are.
Yes.
So,
and then we finally connected and then I mean, those types of things when they happen, it's like you can't ignore it.
And you
like,
can't make it up.
You
either.
can't make it up.
You can't make it up.
Like out of all the people,
Come
and like
on.
I know tons of people that like, come on, like it was just too much. So
and you know what's amazing about like when you go down this path is that once you're open to seeing things and recognizing signs, they become so obvious. It's like back to back to back. You know, it's like, oh, well, thank you there. Thank you. Thank you for that sign. Thank you, angels. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you. You just start recognizing it and you become in a state of gratitude because now they're validating that you're making the right move. You're going in the right direction.
Or you're not doing certain things. Like, oh, thank you so much for there's sometimes I have polls that tell me, Dana, just say no. Just say no. This isn't for you.
We've spoken about this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like saying no has been also a great thing. Like not always being a yes person and saying no and then realizing, wow, I'm so glad I said no. Like I didn't need to go down that path. And that's a sign too. When your gut just says like, this isn't for you. Listen.
There's a system that I tell my clients, right? If you're not sure what direction to go in, you know, all the answers that we have are internal.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to look on the outside for validation, for clarity, for answers. But honestly, everything that we have, it's built into us. Like we're born with this intuition. We're born with this guidance system. We've just been strayed away from it. To believe that we're not enough. But if you actually have a decision that you need to make and you don't know which direction, sit with it. And your body will guide you. Your body will tell you, is this the right decision or it's not? So you sit, have that thought, sit with it, close your eyes for just a few moments, and then see how your body's reacting to, like an example, should I take this job or should I buy this house right now?
Okay.
And then your body will feel either excited and energized, and that's gearing you towards, that sounds like a good plan. You know, lean towards that. If your body feels like, heavy, but your mind is telling you something like this is, yes, you should logically take this job, this promotion, because you're going to be getting paid more. But there's something in your body that's like saying, oh God, it just doesn't feel good. And then you go against it, right? And you'll always get, you know, the repercussions for that.
Yes.
And then you have that feeling of, I don't know, like how I'm feeling. So when you have that excitement, in that energized feeling within your body, then it's leaning towards that, this is a great decision. When you have that confliction between your mind and your body reaction, and you're like, if you tune into your body, it's gonna tell you, like, no.
Yeah.
No, like step away from your critical, over analytical mind and listen to this guidance system. And then if you have that feeling too, that's kind of like in between, when you sit with that, it could be, it's just not now. Right. You know, like this is not the time for it. It's not a yes. It's not a no. It's just not right now. And then you can apply, okay, so why is it not right now? I don't know. I'm writing a book right now. I'm creating a podcast. I have 2 investment companies that I'm a part of. I just signed up for a marathon or an Ironman. Yeah. Maybe right now is not the time for this next project. And then you revisit it.
Right.
You know?
I just gave a woman advice like that recently who came up to me at my kid's school and was talking about launching her own business or whatever. And I said, look, I'm not trying to tell you like not to do it, but maybe, because after she kind of told me her whole situation, I was like, maybe right now is not the time. Like, you know, so don't also put things off like, okay, I'm just never going to do it. But the timing on things has to be right and has to feel right. And you don't want to interrupt your life too much or sometimes realistically, we just have too many things going on, and to dilute yourself is also not giving yourself a fair chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's a non-negotiable is, and this is something that I realized just in the last couple of weeks, a non-negotiable is that making time for yourself is a non-negotiable item.
Yes.
So I came up with this this challenge of, is this the right time to take on this mentorship program that I signed up for? It's going to take time. It's going to take a financial investment. Mm-hmm. Maybe not everything is in alignment. Like I have this going on. I have this. Like I have all these moving pieces. And I was finding all these excuses not to take on this this program. And it just kept coming to me. They'll keep throwing these signs at you over and over again. And I initially said no. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the opportunity because it was a screening. I was being interviewed as much as I was interviewing him. Because he was only taking so many into the incubator. And my critical mind was trying to get in the way.
Yeah.
And I was ignoring what my body was telling me. But it kept coming back over and over and over again. I even connected him with another friend of mine who I thought could who could benefit from his program, but it kept coming back. I just pulled the plug and I just pulled the trigger and I'm like, you know what? When will it ever be a perfect time?
Right.
And honestly, it's always a perfect time to invest in you.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And it has shown me since I started that investing in me and my mindset, my well-being, my spiritual world, my emotional world, my business world, it was the best decision that I could have made because I was pouring back into me.
Yes.
And as moms, as spouses, as partners, as daughters, whatever it is, we're always pouring into everybody else and we forget to pour back into ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's a non-negotiable.
Yes.
Always taking time to
I think but you have to also realize well, what's the time investment? Depending I retired from competing because I realized I don't have the time investment. Yes, it would be something I'd do for me, but I don't have hours a day anymore to take away from my family and train. If I'm not working and I'm not with my family that I'm training, then I'm it's a big commitment. So oftentimes I'll say just right now is not the time, or okay, when the kids go to sleepaway camp, I'll have more hours in my day because they're at camp, or sometimes I have to also realize okay, I only have 24 hours in a day. And what happened with me was and this is not to say why maybe my marriage failed or whatever, but I always say when I look at some people who take on a lot, something has to give. Yeah, we all have only 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we do dilute ourselves so much that it's very hard to do 1,000 things at 100%. And when you're raising children, when you're running a business, when you are talking about yourself, it's I think they all deserve a lot of attention. And so when I was trying to do too much, I realized the competing and all that just had to fall away. And even though maybe it was my hobby or it was something, whatever, I was you know what, I can't give that 100% and that 100% and that 100% because then when do I have time for nurturing my relationship? Right. When do I have time to have one-on-one time with all 3 children? When do I have time to cook healthy meals and do all the things? It's
yeah, something does have to Yeah.
So but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that it's never going to be the time, but maybe I have to find the pocket in my life where I say, okay, because, summer vacation's coming up and I've got some time that I can do this for myself, or I can do this this race or competition or this training, because everything is a commitment. And I think people like us also aim to do things at a high level.
100%. Yeah, I don't think we know how to do anything at 20% level, right?
Right.
If we say we're going to do something, we do it. We're all in.
And that's a lot of pressure, Yeah. That's a lot of that we put on ourselves because we're not going to half-ass things. Anything that I do with my brand, it's now because I've set the standard so high with things that we do, I'm oh no, we can't put that out. We've got to do a good job and we've got to show up and we've got to whatever we're doing. And so, and that can add a little extra stress to your life too when you're trying to show up for everyone and everything at a high level. Yeah. But I think that it's just being honest with yourself of what you can really handle. And I give people a lot of credit. There are some people who say I don't want kids, and people will attack them. And I'm like, kids are a really big commitment. It's a really, that's a whole nother job that you're doing for the next couple decades.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, if you know that you just don't have it in you to do that, I think John Cena just came out saying that. There was like a whole article on him, and he's like, I don't have what it takes to be a good dad. Like, I just can't do all that I'm doing and also pour what I need to pour into raising children and what children would deserve. And I was like, wow, I really respect him for that. Because like, instead of just trying to do everything and then being like, yeah, I'm going to pop out a few kids too, and I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to travel the world. It's like, well, something's got to give, and it might be your relationship with your children, and that's really sad. Yeah. So I'd rather somebody say, look, I just don't have it in me to give all of that.
And everyone's life path is different.
Yes.
Everyone's calling is different.
Yes.
You know, you have to respect people's paths
and what they want to leave on this earth, like what they want to, you know, what he wants to pour his energy into.
And maybe whatever projects he's doing is going to help people on a much larger scale.
Yes.
And maybe those are his children.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So but even with that, I think we've even spoken on previous podcasts about the power of balance.
Yes.
You know, being with all of these big projects and, you know, just feeling so busy and overwhelmed, it's really, really important to find balance, which is like going back to, you know, filling up your own cup is non-negotiable. Investing in you is not, it's a non-negotiable thing, because if you want to serve, however form that comes in, if you want to serve at your best, you have to first come from a fully charged, fulfilled, balanced place. You know, or you're serving from an empty cup.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like you know, when you're on the airplane. What do they tell
you? That's how I felt when I wrote this. I just wasn't in my best spot. I wasn't feeling good about who I was, what I was doing, where different relationships and things were. And so I wasn't thriving and feeling my best and I wasn't like in control over my situations. And then in turn, I wasn't able to be the best mom I could be. I wasn't able, and it was just, so it's like all of those areas have to be, I mean, they all come back to you and how you feel about yourself.
And how you show up to the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. And energy doesn't lie, by the way. Energy does not lie. People can tell when you're not yourself or at not your highest form.
Yeah.
You know, and you can tell. You can feel within yourself that this doesn't feel in alignment with me. This doesn't feel like who I am or who I want to be.
And it all starts to crack. And that's what was happening with me. I mean, I really, at the time, it's like I was losing myself and I didn't feel good in my situations. And I think that people saw that, and it really, you know, it's very hard to hide if you're not fully like having, like you're not at your best, you know, or you're not feeling your best. If areas in your life are struggling, it's very hard to kind of wear a mask and act like everything's perfect. Eventually it all kind of starts to crack and crumble. Mm-hmm. So I think getting real with yourself and where you are and what you want. And that's why like I shared this today, because you know, every now and then just take a deep dive into where you are in life, where you want to be, and don't be afraid to like say how it truly is. Like if you're really miserable or not happy with your job, with your health and fitness, with your relationships, with your, like, take a look into them, why, and write it down and write where you want to be. And somehow the two start to like find where you'll find the solution in between. And sometimes it's not being in that relationship before, or sometimes it has to come from the people patching things and working on things and not ignoring that the foundation is crumbling and why. I mean, but I think that first it's like your mentor said, like you can't see the label from the inside. Yeah. You've got to step outside and take a look at what's going on. And be real with yourself, and don't be afraid to be critical. Like that's what I did. I wrote down, I'm like, I'm being real. Like I am not in a good place, and this is where I am. And this is what I want the outcome to be. This is where I want to be. And now seeing what happened within those 5 years, it's like a total.
And it started from that.
And it started from writing it down on this paper.
And being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then knowing that every decision that I had to make for my life going forward had to be towards where I wanted to be. I've got to keep that in mind of where I want to go. And that's why you write it down and you can reread it and you can reiterate it and remember, like, this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do.
Right. Well, I think about all the top speakers, right? All these coaches and mentors that are out there. What do they say? Journal.
Yeah.
Get your thoughts on paper.
Yeah.
There's power behind it.
Yeah.
Right? Thoughts, writing it down, spoken word, written word.
Yep. Talk about it.
I
like to talk about stuff out loud. Sometimes Greg and I talk about our future and like it'll sound outrageous. Like, you know, sometimes I'm like, when we own a farm and we're going to have goats and we're going to have cattle and we're going to have donkeys and like, you know, and I'm sure he sat like, and I'm like, it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be on this. And we're just talking because I have this vision. I want this like gorgeous Western home one day. And I want to wear cowboy boots and take care of my animals. And like, whether he doesn't laugh at me. Like, he's like, yeah, okay, we're going to do that. But like, is it happening right now? No, like we've got a lot going on, but like, I love to talk about it out loud because I know that whether it's in 10 years or 20 years, the two of us are going to be in our rocking chairs on our gorgeous Western home with our goats and our donkeys and
maybe you'll be doing yoga with your goats.
Who knows? And like, it's like, yeah, it might sound outrageous, but like, here we are. And it's like, that's something that I do want in the future, you know? And I said it out loud and my kids heard me and they're like, what? Well, we have school. Like we can't. I'm like, guys, I'm talking about what I'd like in the future. I'm not saying we're all like packing it up and moving out West and you know, buying goats. Like that's not, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And sometimes it might sound silly or outrageous, but now I don't care if it sounds silly or outrageous. I just say it. Honestly. I say it. And I feel like one day, because I used to say outrageous things about devotion, and then, you know, it's like now, like here I am, and I like pinch myself, like, oh my gosh, like this brand is finally where I envisioned it, and I'm finally, you know, all the things that I wrote that I wanted out of it is happening or has happened. How proud
are you of yourself?
Oh, so proud.
How does that feel? How does that feel to know that you stayed on your path?
Yeah,
and you didn't allow other people to influence you left or right. You knew deep inside.
Yeah.
What you were going to attract into your life.
Yes.
And you were taking action alongside that.
Oh, you know, my God. It feels amazing. And it feels amazing that I also have aligned myself with such quality people. And I've known who not to let into my circle and who to invite into my circle and who to, you know, trust and who not to trust. Like, those are all things that are important in growing who you are, because you can easily get off course having the wrong people in your life. So like, I love my team and I love who I have embraced into my life and my team. And I'm really proud of that because they're really good people. And I've learned to also like get rid of the ones who I'm like, like this is not who we are. This is not the vibe we're going for. And then you've got to know that, like, I'd rather just keep this like tight quality circle than, you know, just be worried about everybody liking me and pleasing people. Like, no, can't be about that. So, you know, but I think this is a great talk. Did you think? I mean,
it's always fun to talk about this stuff.
I know you and I could sit here for like 10 more hours talking about this stuff.
I just think it's just amazing to talk about it. I love it. It's like,
yeah. It's empowering, and I'm sharing my story. I love sharing your examples of things that you're doing right now, because it's just, they're examples of how, you know, we are just real women, just kind of sharing and going after what we want in life, and telling our stories to empower other people who might be, I mean, you might be listening and you're like, I am kind of afraid to put it out there. I am kind of afraid to go after something. And I'm hoping that from listening to this podcast, you now will write down some of those goals, or you'll put it out there, or you'll talk to your significant other or your best friend and just say like, hey, I want to do this. And then just say it, just start there.
You never know who's watching. You never know who's listening.
Yep.
They're like in the background, you know, the ghosts, but they're watching,
yep.
You know, and you never know if you're striking a chord with them.
Yep.
You know, maybe they're not speaking it out loud, but when you say it, it resonates with them.
Yep.
Within them, you know?
Yes.
And it's inspiring them. It's lighting a fire within them to do something different. It doesn't have to be an athletic goal. It could just be lighting that fire in some other part of their life.
Yep. Bijou said before she left for camp, my daughter lost a lot of weight at camp, and she said to me, Mom, one of my goals at camp is to get in better shape and to lose some weight. I mean, she knew that her weight was becoming an issue, you know, for health-wise, and she wasn't feeling good and all of that. And she said that she put it out there to me before she left. And I said, Bijou, you can do whatever you put your mind to this summer. You know, that wasn't my goal for her. I didn't have that goal. I said, I want you to have fun. I want you to play sports. I want you to go have a great time, meet friends. I never said that. Mm-hmm. She's the one who said it to me. And I was like, you do whatever you need to do to feel good, and you put it out. And she said it out loud, and she came back, and I'm telling you, that girl is glowing. She's so happy that like something that she set her intention to do, she did.
And it happened.
Yeah. And she said it out loud, and I was like,
what a great lesson. I mean, honestly, what a great lesson.
At 12 years old.
At 12 years old to see.
Yeah.
The impact of that, right?
And she feels good. I mean, I know people will be like, oh, she's 12. Why are you worried about her weight? Well, she feels really good. I mean, losing that kind of weight, she was it's a lighter load. She feels better. She needed to for her health and for a lot of reasons. But like, geez, like to get that boost of self-confidence and know that you can accomplish something that you set out to do at 12 years old. I mean,
it's powerful.
It's powerful.
Imagine where that's going to take her.
Yep.
At 18, at 21, at 25.
Yep. And she's already saying, I'm going to try out for the lacrosse team. I'm like, just keep saying it, keep going after it, keep doing the things. I say to all my kids, fail forward. They all tried out last year for all the teams. Nobody made any of the teams. They're all going to try out again this year. I was like, well, work hard at camp this summer. Try out again. I think that their failing is a fabulous thing. Yeah. I love it. I loved it that Bodie didn't get into the school he wanted to get into last year, and then he worked his ass off and now got in. Yeah. And I was like, how did it feel to not be accepted because you didn't work hard enough? Now he worked hard and he got in, and it's like now he's so grateful and happy and like so proud of himself.
Yeah. I think one of the advices that I got from this conference that I went to was go through as many no's as possible.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, that period of time, I'm like, why would I want to go through no's? Isn't the whole purpose is to get a yes?
Yeah, right.
Right. And I didn't understand the concept, but now in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, you go through the no's because your belief system in what you are doing has to be strong enough that you can weed out the ones that aren't meant for you.
Yep.
And that you will begin to attract the ones that are meant for you. Or what opportunities are meant to be in your way. So go through as many no's.
Yes.
Fail as many times, but fail forward as many times as possible, because each time you're getting stronger and wiser, more resilient, and your faith in yourself and your capabilities, it expands.
I love it.
Love it, right?
Love it. Okay, Sivan.
What a great conversation.
To be continued, because we're going to have more chats like this. I love it. I love it. Thank you for being on today. This was a powerful conversation, and I hope you guys got a lot out of this. So, yeah, I hope you'll come back again. This is really nice. Till next time.
Until it's done.
Until it's done.